Do you know when the end of your memoir is? Is this a challenge you grapple with? There are many courses on how to begin your memoir, how to start your memoir, but not many on how to end your memoir or know when your memoir has come to its conclusion, its natural finish. So in this video, we're going to look at just that question. Hello, I'm Brenda. This is Write Your Story, and I love to help you to write your memoir. So there are three key elements we're going to look at in this video to help you know that you have told the whole story there is to tell in this memoir. And the very first one, right off the bat, the biggest one is, what is the story about? Now, if you're new to my channel, you may say, well, the story is about me and my life. That is a common response with regard to memoir. The question then is, what aspect of your life? What do you want to say, especially about this life, that is going to make it a memoir? If you're writing about your whole life and all the events that have happened in your life, you are writing an autobiography. But if you're writing memoir, you need to answer, what is the story about? And to help you to know what your story is about, we're going to break it down into two core components: the promise of your memoir and the premise of your memoir. If you've been following on my channel, you will know that I've already done a video on each of those topics: the promise of your memoir and the premise of your memoir. They're going to be in the links below. Take a look at them because they're going to bring a lot more detail to each topic than what I'm going to cover in this video. In this video, I'm going to give you a summary of both and show you how they work together. Before we even do our premise, we really should know our promise. The end of your memoir is reached when you have fulfilled the promise of your memoir. And the promise of your memoir is this: what have you learned in your life that is of value to the reader that you want to convey to the reader? And by the time the reader has finished reading your book, they will know this. They will know this about you, but they will know this about life. They will know this about a universal theme or a universal truth, and they will know this about themselves that they can apply to their own life. Here's an example that I'm going to draw out of the memoir, A 3-Dog Life by Abigail Thomas. I saw it that the promise of her memoir is that whatever hard, difficult, traumatic experience we have to go through that we wish we didn't, we can come through to the other side and rebuild a life for ourselves that actually still has elements of joy and pleasure in it. And along the journey, there can be highlights as we actually navigate what our life is going to look like because of this trauma, because of this tragedy in our lives. Now, that is a promise that can actually apply to anybody's life anywhere in the world, whether they be in Senegal, Switzerland, or Siberia. The actual universal theme and heartache of their humanity is the same regardless of where they live. It may play out differently, it may look a little different in your life compared to theirs, but the actual longing and the theme is the same because we share a humanity. Now, if I look at actually Abigail Thomas's memoir itself, that is the promise of her book. This wise, plain-spoken, beautiful book enacts the truth. Do you see the truth, the universal truth I've been talking about? Abigail discovered in the 5 years since the accident. And here is her promise. You might not find meaning in disaster, but you might, with effort, make something useful of it. So that is the promise of Abigail Thomas's memoir, A 3-Dog Life. What is the promise of your memoir? Once we've looked at the promise of our memoir, we need to look at the premise of our memoir. The two work hand in hand. I have a detailed video, it's linked right here and in the description below, on how to determine the premise of your memoir. The premise of your memoir has 8 components that will give your memoir focus, because the premise of your memoir is the road-telling map of your memoir. Once you know what your promise is, your premise is how you actually get there. And when you know your promise and you know your premise, you have the focus of your memoir that will help you to know when your story is done. The definition of premise is that it is a statement, or in our case, a story, that precedes and proves a conclusion of an argument or of a story. And so what is the premise? What are the details in your memoir that will prove your promise, that will lead to the conclusion of what your story is about? When you have that, what your story is about, the promise and the premise, what are the details that will tell us what the story is about, you will know when to finish your memoir, when it has reached its natural conclusion. Point number 2 in knowing when your memoir is finished is to memorize these words, stick them up on a sticky, put them on your monitor, put them on your fridge, use lipstick and write them on your mirror if you like. Memoir is written from one aspect of your life. So when you remember that, when you keep that really front and center as you write your memoir, that it is one aspect of your life, you will know when you have discussed that one aspect of your life. And that one aspect of your life is your promise. So what is the one aspect of your memoir that you want to convey to the reader? Once you've discussed that, you have reached the conclusion of your story. And so point number 3 is really an extension of that. Trust the process. Ask yourself and ask your story, are you done? Is this all there is to say? Not all there is to say about your life, or the multifaceted persona that you are, and all the things that have happened in your life, or the people you've met. Is this all there is to say about this one aspect of your life that is the promise of your memoir? Because the premise of your memoir has led us to this place. And is it now finished? You may be thinking, well, how do I know if I need to finish it with this scene or that scene? If you have been unfolding and building your memoir and telling your story, you will innately know which is the last scene. Is it a strong scene? Is it a softer scene that you finish with? Or is it, as Abigail Thomas said, is it a statement of truth that her husband in his brain trauma state makes that she uses to conclude her memoir? Trust the process. It will unfold as you write it. And as you trust the process, your memoir will actually tell you when the story is done. Anything more than that will feel forced. It will feel like you are in control of the process. Now, another question would be, well, how many words should I have in my memoir? Maybe I should still keep writing because I need to have 50,000, 70,000 words. Let's keep that for another video. For this video, learn to trust the process. Know that your memoir has one aspect that you're talking about. Work with your premise, with the details of your memoir, to the promise that you want to tell. And when you've made that promise, when you've used all the relevant details, illustrations, scenes, and stories that have led to that promise, you have finished your memoir, and rest in that. Don't forget to look down below for the links to the more detailed videos on how to determine the premise of your memoir, which is a free 1-video course you need to subscribe to, and the promise of your memoir, which is on my channel. I will see you in my next video as we continue to learn what it takes to write our memoir.